Hello and welcome to CipherSuite Tech. I'm your host CipherSuite, and today we're going to be looking at how to SSH into a server. This tutorial will be primarily focused on the client side, showing you how to connect into a server. In a separate video, I'll show you how to actually set up an SSH server. First of all, you're going to need to install openssh-client via sudo apt install openssh-client. Already got it installed, so it's going to say, yep, nothing there. If you've got Ubuntu, it will be there by default, probably, so you shouldn't have to do it, but check anyway. Next, you'll need to know the IP address or the host name of the server you're wanting to connect to. And you're going to need an account on that server for this demonstration. So first, on your client machine, you're going to need to type in SSH after you've installed openssh-client, your username that it is on the server you're trying to connect to, and then the server name. Okay, now it's going to ask you for your password. So that's not the password for the machine you're currently on. This is the password for your account on the server you're trying to connect to. In some cases, it might be exactly the same, but just so you're aware, it's asking for the account on the server you're trying to connect to. And then you hit enter, and it says, hey, welcome, you're in. So you can see here, I'm on the server. That's how it's telling me to, that's how I'm there. So if I type in ls, I see file 1, I just did that earlier, I guess. But you can't see the demo1 folder that I had on the client. So if I exit this by typing exit, hitting enter, my ls, you can see I've got my demo1 folder here, and I'm back on my demo machine, the client. So that's very easy. You can connect there and you're all done. However, you'll often find that servers are set up to be more secure and not accept username and password credentials. What they do instead is use public key authentication. So what that means is that you generate a public and private key on your side, give the public key to the server, and then you log in by presenting your public key, and you do like a back and forth communication in the background to prove that you own the private key. In order to log into a server with your public key, the idea is you give the server your public key, or you'll give it to a system admin, and they'll add it for you. And then when you try and connect, instead of asking for your password, your computer will present the key to the server, and the server will send back a message that can only be decrypted by the holder of the private key, which you have. And then if you're able to prove that you hold the private key, you're in, just like you did with the password. You don't have to worry about the low-level detail of how this communication happens. It's all under the hood. All you need to know is that you give the server your public key, never the private key. Always keep the private key completely private. Never give your private key to anyone for any reason. And let's try and communicate with the server with that. Let's log in with our public key. So the SSH server that I've got at the moment allows username authentication, just like we saw before. As I explained earlier, in the real world, you probably wouldn't have that. You'd probably have to give your public key to a system administrator or add it for you. Unless you, of course, own the servers and you're setting them up for the first time, then you can use username authentication temporarily just to get your key on there. So let's generate an SSH key pair. For that, we type in SSH keygen, and it's going to ask you where you want to save the key. So the path that it specifies is the default location. So I'm going to say yes, just hit enter there. And just be careful, because if you already have an SSH key already, this will overwrite it. So just make sure you don't do that. If you want to call it something else, just specify a different path. And you can optionally specify a passphrase. But I'm going to do that. Now, it is optional, but it's strongly, strongly, strongly recommended, because your SSH key is effectively your key to get into a server. So if somebody gets hold of that key, as far as the server knows, that the person who has your key is you, until they're prompted to type in their password once they're on there. But you don't want to give away your key. It's super important you keep it private. So what you do is you put a password on your key, so even if somehow it's leaked, at least they're not able to use it. And you should use a strong, memorable password for your key, because otherwise they can just brute force it eventually. So any password is better than none, but try and make it reasonably difficult to guess. Letters, numbers, uppercase, lowercase, symbols. If you can do that, that would be great. Just don't make it so long that you have to type it on a post-it, stick it to your monitor, because that completely defeats the point. Okay, so we've got our key. If I, well, I don't need to have a look. It's saying that's where it's going to be, so that's fine. So how do we actually get the key onto the server? So this is where you have to, I'm going to show you a way that requires that username, password, logging in is acceptable on the server. So what we do is say SSH copy ID, and then we type in the name of the user account on the server, and then the address of the server. And it's asking me for the password on the server. This isn't the password for the SSH key. And it's saying, okay, we added a key. So now you can try logging into the machine with SSH, CipherSuite, SSH demo. So I'm going to do that. And check, make sure only the keys you want were added. Okay, you can see on the screen here I've got a prompt that I didn't get before when I was using username and password. So this is saying enter password to unlock the private key. This is the password that you specified earlier. Not your user account on your client machine, not your user account on the server. This is the key for your private key to unlock it. So I'm going to say OK. And as you can see, I'm in. I didn't have to type in my username or I didn't have to type in my password. I did specify a username, but you're in now. You don't have to specify your password, and you can do whatever you were going to do before. If you want to get out, just like before, exit. And if you want to do it again, we'll just even remove that. And I'm in. Okay, so now you've generated your SSH key. You can use that for as many servers as you like. It's perfectly okay to use the same public key on multiple servers if you want to. Some people tend to have a separation between keys for a purpose. So you can do one key for every single server if you want to, like an individual key per server, but that would be quite awkward to manage. It's possible. Or you can have one key per purpose. So you might have one key for your personal stuff and one key for your work stuff, so you can keep them nice and separate. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a thing or two about SSH. Please subscribe to get our latest content and give us a like. It really helps out the channel. And if there's anything you'd like me to cover in a future tutorial, please leave a comment below. Alright, thanks. Bye.